What is going on, everybody? This is Wrestle Talk with the franchise, and today, as I always say we got a lot to dive into. Today is no exception. This past Friday was a clear indication, a clear reason behind why I am a firm believer in the don't believe everything you hear and or see. Last week on this here show, I spoke about the possibility, and I didn't want to give all my thoughts on it until it was confirmed. On both the women's war game that was announced on this past Monday and the men's war game, the Bloodline Civil War. Because we knew Big Bronson Reed was inserted, and with Big Bronson Reed being inserted into said story, ideally everybody thought, well, Seth Rollins has to be inserted. There were numerous accounts on social media that leaked that Seth Rollins was indeed going to be the fifth member, because there were the scenes from Raw when the Usos and Sami Zayn came to help out Seth Rollins when the Rogue Bloodline showed up. Now, I know that's not really what they're calling themselves, the Rogue Bloodline, but I have gave them that name because it's kind of weird when you go on with the OG Bloodline against the Bloodline. I feel like they need a better name, so I just gave them the Rogue Bloodline. And so the thought was Seth Rollins was going to be in it. And now we seen on Monday that Sami Zayn and them reached out to try to, convince Seth again. And Seth was very clear when he said he will not be a part of this. He does not want to give Roman the benefit of regaining power and hijacking the WWE again. Him and Kevin Owens seem to be the only two people to stand on business when it comes to their feelings about Roman Reigns. Even though Kevin Owens did say that, he ended up having some form of respect at some point in time for Roman Reigns, he just does not like the Bloodline. Whatever the case may be. And we'll dive into Kevin Owens a little bit later. But I'm saying all this to say, as you've seen on the title, War Games got punked. Or gets punked. Let me use the proper term. War Games gets punked. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Second City Saint, the voice of the voiceless, one of the OG Paul Heyman guys, CM Punk, is the fifth member of War Games. Now, I'm going to dive into that whole conversation later on. But there was a pay-per-view that took place Saturday night. AEW Full Gear. Now, as you guys know, I do not watch a AEW pay-per-view because I'm not spending $50 on a product or a show that, hands down, they say, and everybody is in agreement, that Tony Khan puts on great pay-per-views. This by far may be, and this is not just me because, mind you, I did not watch it, but the consensus that I got around people that watched it and did reviews on it was very much, this had more downs than ups and left a lot of people confused, scratching their head, not knowing what is going on. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And the prime example that I kind of want to focus in on is what the main story is going in AEW right now, which is Jon Moxley, and no longer the Blackpool Combat Club, but now known as the Death Riders. A clusterfuck of events that had everyone sitting there trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Hangman comes out after the match, which Moxley retained. Hangman comes out, takes out Wheeler. Christian Cage comes out. Christian's about to cash in. Jay White shows up, stops it from happening. The Death Riders leave to only get their pickup truck demolished by Darby Allin. Darby Allin is on top of the pickup truck, screaming, bleeding, yelling for them to come back. Let's finish this. Darby Allin lost on Dynamite to Cesaro or Claudio. So what makes anybody think that Darby is going to be the saving grace that is going to dethrone Moxley when this is all said and done? Now, from my beliefs, and a lot of people are believing this is what's going to happen, is the Young Bucks is going to come back, babyface, and be the ones to dethrone the Death Riders or Moxley and put a end to this. Does this mean Kenny Omega comes back with the Young Bucks? I mean, if you didn't see Kenny Omega's interview with Fightful, you should go look at it and listen to what he said. Because Kenny Omega basically pointed to the fact that New Japan is his home. AEW is just the place that he helped build. So he's not even claiming AEW to be his home. And is saying AEW's fine. Everything's fine over at AEW. No, it's not. It's not. And as I've said before, and I will continue to say, I do not want to see the downfall of AEW. I don't. I actually want to see this company succeed. And I'm critical on them because Tony Khan is trying to paint this picture and trying to, I don't know, be the savior for all of wrestling, because WWE had this stranglehold on the industry, but they're the big guys. And what you're realizing is the more and more you sit back and you think about the latter years of the Vince McMahon era, and you compare it to what Tony Khan is doing right now, they're one and the same. They're one and the same. The women's division is not getting pushed. It's more of gyrating and as it's more gyrating and set on the eyes than the actual in-ring work of the women's division. If you ever sided with the ops, being CM Punk, or have recently said anything about CM Punk in a good way, like, oh man, like the void is being missed. We miss Phil Brooks. We miss CM Punk, this, that, and the third. You will get outcasted and put to the side. Creatively, there's a mass of head scratching things. And once you have secured the bag, you're just like, I don't care anymore. Vince secured his Saudi bag and stopped caring about the product. He secured all this bags, stopped caring about the product. Tony Khan secures his TV deal with Turner and really don't care about anything. He books for himself. He does not book for the fans. He just doesn't. I laughed when I seen the video that came out, and I seen it on Twitter, and I don't know if it's on their official YouTube channel. If it is, then I will just this video right here. And I laughed at it because it came at a time where they're really on some shit. Like, they're in some creative differences, but they swear this is where the best come to wrestle. I beg to differ. I do. And you guys should know how I feel about all the people that have went from WWE to AEW. I think Bobby Lashley may be the only person that has not taken any jab, from my understanding, unless I'm wrong, and please let me know in the comments, that he took a jab at WWE on AEW television. But everyone else that has jumped ship from WWE to AEW, or has did not renew or got released and end up at AEW, has taken subtle jabs at the WWE. I know I said, if you follow on Instagram, RCW_podcast, I know I said that I was going to have a lot to say about Ricochet and his comments that he made about how he is going to prove why he can be the face of a company. I have been a Ricochet fan since he was Prince Puma in Lucha Underground. Went to NXT, went to the main roster. I can say that's not true. Does it pain for me to say that? Yes, but I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't think he has it to be the face of the company. You're in a company now, and I'm going to close, but you're in a company now with numerous people that do what you do. So what makes you different from a Will Ospreay, a Kyle Fletcher, Sammy Guevara? What makes you different from them? Nothing. You were different in the WWE because no one was doing what you were doing. I listened to his interview with Chris Van Vliet more recently. And he said, I was doing the stuff in WWE that I'm doing here. But he didn't feel like there was any more growth for him. Honestly, I think going back to NXT and having a run in NXT probably would have done him justice and probably would have put him on a bigger pedestal, and he probably would have won the NXT heavyweight title. In my opinion, I think he could have. If he decided, you know what, let me go to NXT for a minute. Let me get my, let me just do something different. Finn Balor did it, and Finn Balor explained why he did it. He did it because he wanted to do something. He wanted to reinvent himself. That's what Ricochet should have done. And he did it. Now he's here where everybody can do what he's doing and some can do it better. You're going to fall in the midst. You'll be on Rampage. You'll be on Collision. You'll soon be gone or not utilized. And then what? And then what? I'm not going to dive into the MJF and Roderick Strong and the whole Undisputed Kingdom and Adam Cole and all that, because that's just a really weird conversation or a weird story. I know it kind of goes back, and I think hopefully it does end at World's End where it all started. Yeah. And that's about it for the AEW side of things. So let's talk about the things that, we're here to talk about, which is War Games, Survivor Series War Games, which is this upcoming Saturday. As you guys know, so far from my understanding, there's only three matches right now, which is Damian Priest versus Gunther for the world title. It's kind of weird because I feel like now Gunther's in a space where Gunther's questioning himself. He's questioning Luger Kaiser, like we seen on Raw when he asked him, like, do you still see me as like the ring general and all this? And then he went to attack Priest, and Priest kind of had to one up on him. And Priest told him, you may be the ring general in the ring, but I'm king out here. It's kind of a weird type of angle that we're going with this. It it's not really getting a lot of focus and attention because obviously everybody's focused on War Games on both the women's side now, and we've been focused on the Bloodline. So this kind of falls in the cracks, and it's kind of leaving you head scratching, trying to figure out, obviously the women's side of things, it was confirmed Rhea Ripley did come out for the Raw segment and declared War Games against Nia Jax, against Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. They will be going up against the team of, at the time, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. However, on SmackDown this past Friday, Jade Cargill took a massive beating. I don't know exactly what happened. We happened to see during the triple threat match for the United States women, the first round matchup, the second match in the first round of the women's United States tournament, with Bianca Belair facing Blair Davenport facing Chelsea Green. And during the match, we happened to see backstage Jade Cargill laid out on the hood of a car, just destroyed. Now, since then, she has sustained the following injuries: a deep lumbar perspinal muscle contusion, I hope I said that right, bruised kidney, sprained MCL in the right knee, her tibia patella bone bruise on the right knee, and facial lacerations. Now, I believe that this SmackDown coming up, the go home show for War Games, was pre-taped. And I believe they did announce Bayley as the replacement for Jade Cargill, because she's going to be out for some time. Now, what does this mean for the tag team titles? I do not know, because if we base it on the past, if someone's injured and cannot compete and there's no timetable of when they are returning, the titles should be forfeited. So are we going to see the tag team titles forfeited, and we have a tournament to determine, or whatever, to determine the women's tag team champions? Now, Jade Cargill was scheduled to participate in this tournament, and now she can't. I believe it was her, Meacham, and Naomi. No, it wasn't Naomi, because Naomi was on another bracket. It was her, Meacham, and Piper Niven. Who's replacing her? But more importantly, who did the attack? Now, many people will suspect it was Bayley for some reason. Others are thinking this is very reminiscent of Shawn Michaels Triple H, which I do not want to see, because it wouldn't make logical sense if they're the tag team champions, why Bianca Belair would attack Jade Cargill. They're the tag team champions. Why would she do that? That wouldn't really make sense. If they weren't champs, I could understand. But they are champs, doesn't make any fucking sense. Then JD from New York, everybody knows, off the script, posted a tweet. Well, he retweeted a tweet that someone sent to him saying, hey, I know you said that it might be Bayley, but look at this. Look at Naomi. And the video shows the picture is a picture of her looking at the hard cam, and she has like this heelish look face on her. And he goes, would they do it? To which Naomi replied to JD and said, I thought we were cool. I'm clear. I'm not doing this. So it looks though as if Naomi is clearing her name. And even on Twitter, she said, once my name is cleared, a lot of y'all gonna owe me an apology or something like that. Because she's like, I did not do this. That would have been great. But you know who I think might have did it? Someone who has not been seen on television in little under a year. And more recently, this past week, she just posted a video of an iceberg or ice cube or a block of ice cracking, and she appeared. And that is one Charlotte Flair. Remember this picture from a year ago this time? Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill face to face? What better way to bring back the queen? And I know I said maybe get her to come back, feud with Nia, then she could have her match with Tiffany Stratton. But what if Charlotte came back, took out Jade, because she's like, I'm hearing all the hype about Jade Cargill. But it wouldn't make sense unless you are going to then frame Charlotte versus Bianca, because Bianca's going to want to get her revenge for Jade. And then could it be somehow, some way, Jade feels like Bianca might have had something to do or feel responsible for, or whatever the case may be, and we end up getting Jade and Bianca going at it in the long run? That could be SummerSlam. But we get Jade versus Charlotte in that build-up. I'm going to go with Charlotte. That's who I'm going with on who did the attack. Speedy recovery to Jade Cargill. But that's who I have as the one that took out Jade Cargill. Speaking of I was speaking about the women's United States Championship, the tournament. It continued as I did state earlier, with another triple threat with Bianca, Blair Davenport, and Chelsea Green, with Chelsea Green winning. So Chelsea Green is still in the hunt. I'm hoping Chelsea Green wins this. Now, I was thinking about how Raw hasn't announced their secondary title. I think they will soon, and I think the champion will be crowned at the first Raw on Netflix. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to have Saturday night's main event that's already has a moment, and it's big. Saturday night main event is a big thing for them. You're going to need something to equal out for the women's division like they did for Saturday night's main event. And I feel like you're going to get that with the women's Intercontinental title being the inaugural first ever women's Intercontinental champion being crowned at Raw on Netflix. So that's kind of where I'm going at with that. Next up, let's dive into the Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes debacle. Now, I feel like this rivalry is ideally with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. It's ideally what I would have loved to see Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Like, I feel like they're going to go to that, not to that level, but close enough. Remember when I said a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, that Cody Rhodes needed that story to solidify his title reign? Everyone has that particular story that solidifies their title reign. I think he's about to have that with both Kevin Owens and and Randy Orton. And they're both going to be ideally the same theme. I seen something on Twitter speaking about it because on Friday night, these two cut promos that was incredible. Their back and forth, it was real. It was raw. It was full of emotion. And it sold. It had me like, okay, I can get behind this. Kevin Owens told Cody, I loved Randy. I hate you. Now, like I said earlier, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are the only two people that are standing on business. Kevin Owens is echoing a lot of things that I've said, but I've said it in regards to Randy Orton, where Randy Orton is like, he could say, the bloodline took 18 months out of my career, and you decided to align yourself with Roman Reigns, even if it was for one match. You volunteered to do it. Roman didn't ask for your help. You volunteered your services to help him. Roman didn't ask for it. You did it yourself. Kevin Owens, as I've stated before, since Roman Reigns has had his reign, no pun intended, across the WWE universe, it was Kevin Owens who had the longest rival with him during his run. During the COVID era, during the pandemic, during the Thunderdome era. It was Kevin Owens bumping heads with Roman Reigns the most. Sami Zayn turned on Kevin Owens to join with the Bloodline. And don't think that's not going to resurface. Because if Kevin Owens is on this warpath of anybody that has aligned, who has rejoined with the Bloodline or has assisted in helping with Roman Reigns, you're an enemy to me now. You don't think that he feels a way about Sami Zayn realigning himself with the Bloodline after everything that the Bloodline put Sami Zayn through, and after Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn dethroned the Usos at WrestleMania 39? And was the beginning of the cracks that broke the Bloodline, all to see Kevin Owens, all for Kevin Owens to see Sami Zayn go back to that. Yeah. Kevin Owens ain't forget that. That may be the match for WrestleMania 41. I won't be surprised. I see Kevin Owens' point. I see Cody's point. Cody was saying, you are decorated. You are one of the most decorated athletes in the business right now, in this company right now. But you are your worst enemy. You are your worst enemy. They were cooking. They were cooking. I can see this happening at Saturday Night Main Event. Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. I can see Randy Orton coming back at the Royal Rumble, like I said, and screwing Kevin Owens out of an opportunity. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton kind of have a mini feud. And then Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton begin their story. Because Randy Orton, not that he believes Kevin Owens, but he understands you are to blame for me being taken out again. And it kind of all circles back to Roman Reigns. Speaking of Roman Reigns, let's dive into this. Let's talk about War Games. Let's talk about the Bloodline War Games. I'm not even gonna call it a civil war anymore because obviously the root of it is in the Bloodline. It is within Solo, Roman, Jimmy, Jay, but you have all these other entities that really aren't blood involved. So we all seen that on SmackDown, Solo Sikoa basically said, y'all don't have a fifth member. So tonight, Roman, I want you to come out and I want you to surrender, pretty much. Give up. Or else you'll die where you're standing. And Roman Reigns told them, because they're like, we still need a fifth member. And they're like, what about Cody? And Roman said, that's old news. That's the past. And Sami suggested Seth Rollins again. And Roman looked at him, scowled at him, gave him a death stare. Never mind. And Roman said, it's the four of us. We got this. If we die type of thing. And then they asked, what's the plan? And Roman said, I don't know. Which was very telling because this explains why he needed the wise man. But they never went back to the Sami Zayn situation with the phone. Now, I believe it was like a WrestleCon or something that happened last week, a Complex Con or something like that. I forgot what it was. But Jey Uso, Peter Rosenberg asked Jey Uso about it, and Jey Uso said, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, and we gonna have to address it. But they never addressed it. But if we know anything about this Triple H era, these little small Easter eggs that are planted will resurface in the long run. Why do I say that? Remember back in June, SmackDown was in Chicago. And CM Punk appeared. And Paul Heyman came out. And it was the first time since CM Punk returned to WWE that we got Paul Heyman and CM Punk in the same ring together. And Paul Heyman embraced CM Punk with that hug and tells him, I needed that. I needed that hug. And then Solo comes out and CM Punk goes at Solo. Tells him he's a knockoff tribal chief. Paul Heyman told him, take me with you. And we knew what happened I believe it was the following week or a few weeks later at Madison Square Garden. The Rogue Bloodline put the Rogue Bloodline put Paul Heyman through a table. And we have not seen the wise man since, until Friday night, the closeout of SmackDown. We see the Bloodline and the Rogue Bloodline in the ring, and Solo told Roman, "Join me or you would die where you stand," and went to hand him the mic. And Roman was about to speak, and we heard the words that we've been clamoring for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. And Jimmy Uso lit up. Roman Reigns was kind of like in surprise, happy, whatever you want to refer to it as. And Paul Heyman proceeded to say, this War Games is not going to be 4-on-5. No. This War Games is going to be 5-on-5, and pointed to the entrance. And out came the Second City Saint. Out came the voice of the voiceless. Out came CM Punk. And a brawl broke out. And the OG Bloodline finally got the one up on the Rogue Bloodline. But it was this shot right here everyone loved. Seeing Paul Heyman on the apron, seeing Roman Reigns in the ring, staring off with CM Punk. Remember when CM Punk returned, one of the first things he said was, remember, before he was your wise man, he was my advocate. I'm the OG Paul Heyman guy. Seeds are being planted for what's going to happen in the future. We are going to get Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. But like CM Punk told Roman Reigns Friday night, it's not about me or you. It's about him. It's about Paul. Roman said, he's my wise man. CM Punk said, we'll see. I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense to people. Some people may not understand why CM Punk? Why not Seth Rollins? Because CM Punk owed a favor to Paul Heyman. Think about Paul Heyman's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Who inducted him and who was sitting next to his kids? Roman Reigns inducted him, and CM Punk was sitting next to his kids. CM Punk is Paul Heyman's best friend. He acknowledged it at the ceremony. These two are like brothers. Roman Reigns is in a position right now of uncertainty. He's never really embarked on something like this. See, Roman Reigns left Paul Heyman to get attacked, to get violated. Roman Reigns, at some point, even though he did not want it, but he aligned himself with Cody Rhodes. See, all things are going to come back to Cody Rhodes. All things are going to come back to The Rock. And I'll explain in a minute. All things are going to circle back to Seth Rollins. All these entities are going to play a role in the bigger story. But there's sub-stories in between this. And this is why the term long-term booking is such a phenomenal thing to hear, because this is what long-term booking is. This is how you tell a story, because you have these elements. That happened in June. CM Punk showed up on SmackDown in Chicago. Weeks later, Paul Heyman gets put through a table. You don't think he didn't remember that? Some people thought it might have been Brock Lesnar. Could be. What would be a better reason to bring back the Beast? You need a Beast to take on Bronson Reed. I wouldn't have been surprised. I would not have been upset if that happened. But we all know where Brock Lesnar is right now. But having CM Punk be inserted into this story is going to further push the CM Punk Seth Rollins story. It will. I don't really know how, but it will. This is going to be a very epic, this is going to be the cliffhanger. This match is going to determine a lot. And the reason why I say that is because, and the reason why I said The Rock plays into this, is even though now I don't see a scenario where The Rock appears at Survivor Series, but he could. Because if you remember during the press conference, CM Punk did allude to wanting to punch The Rock. We know that CM Punk and The Rock have history together. So now The Rock can simply look at this and say, you've inserted your nose in family business. So now I have to do whatever I need to do to get rid of you. Whatever that may be. I don't really want to see that. I would have rather seen it with Cody, and then Rock comes out, and then we build into the Rock and Cody story, because I still feel like that's going to have to be told. We'll have to wait and see. Now, there's this, as I'm about to wrap up, there's this article that you see right here. Triple H is botching the Bloodline story ahead of WrestleMania. Now, I briefly skimmed through this article, and a lot of people kind of feel the same way, that this story is being botched, being pushed a little too fast. I will say no. But I will say I kind of blame The Rock for this. This is where I say my frustration with The Rock comes into play. Because we remember a year ago, The Rock made his claim that it was supposed to be Rock Roman at 39. We had a handshake. We had it locked in, but then things happened. I remember when The Rock came back for 40. And I remember saying that if we don't get Rock and Roman at 39, I really didn't want to see it. And then we kind of was going to get it at 40, and then we all know what happened. But I feel like because The Rock's schedule, whatever it is with The Rock, it's a weird situation. So the story that everybody is wanting to get to, as I alluded to last week, the end game of the Bloodline story is Rock and Roman. That's the end game. That is the final match that we want to see. Like I said, this part right here is kind of like Age of Ultron. We just need to get over it. We need to get past it. But they threw a little, they threw a little something in there that has us all sitting there like, okay, wait a minute, this is different because now you have inserted CM Punk. How does this play out? But I think because there's uncertainty about what the goal for WrestleMania is, because 1 minute they're saying it's a triple threat with Cody, Rock, Roman. Then there's just Rock and Roman. Then there's all this uncertainty about the main event that it leaves us trying to figure out. So what does this leave for Triple H to do? Well, Triple H has to, I don't want to say push this story, but he has to do certain things. The element of Bronson Reed inserted into this story doesn't really make sense. Unless you did include when Bronson Reed kind of on Twitter said, hey, I want to be a part of the Bloodline, and they kind of pushed it off. So he kind of could have felt away. There wasn't no explanation behind that. Obviously, we knew that the Usos was going to get back together. You knew somehow, some way, Sami Zayn was going to get inserted back into this. The way they probably told it, I don't think was botched. I don't think it was mishandled. I really don't think that this story has been mishandled. But like I said before, I said it last week, this is the Age of Ultron movie. It is a thumbnail in the longer story, and it's the thumbnail that a lot of people would just say, let's just get over this one to further get into what we really want to get into. We want to get into Infinity War. We want to get into the end game. We want to get to that point. All these other, it's just there. I'm excited though. They pulled one on me. This is why, as I said earlier, as I said in the beginning of the show, and I've said this repeatedly in episodes, I don't really like listening, reading, watching anything that is of a leak or a report, because sometimes more than less, they get it wrong. They got it wrong. It wasn't Seth. It was CM Punk. And now we have the Bloodline. Let's just say we have the Paul Heyman guys against the Rogue Bloodline. And I see a lot of people are speculating that Paul Heyman may be turning on Roman Reigns. Look, he had the red handkerchief. That's symbolic. Look at Solo. Solo had a red handkerchief. Do you guys not remember that Paul Heyman has always had the red handkerchief from when he was with Roman Reigns and a part of the Bloodline? He had always a red handkerchief. his suits. If you look at the suit always said Bloodline. It makes sense. But like to throw a little Easter egg, kind of confuse people, make people think like, oh my God, he's going to turn on them. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think so. You know? So I'm looking forward to this Saturday. You know, I mean, we have 3 matches right now. I really think we're going to get a 4th installment, and I think that is going to be the traditional 5-on-5, the final testament with The Miz going against the Wyatt Sick. It's very interesting. If you haven't followed Karrion Kross on Twitter, do so, or Instagram, but I've seen it on Twitter. Karrion Kross revealed something that was very telling, and it gives more reason to why this story is even taking place. He talked about his relationship with Dexter Lumis and how he lost Dexter Lumis as a friend. And then he talked about the tattoo that he has on his hand, on his wrist, which is the moth, the Bray Wyatt moth. And apparently back in 2023, I believe, before Bray untimely passing, he was supposed to work with Bray. They were supposed to have a story together. And he says in the video, I don't think Bray would have liked this. So they can really build on this. They can, if they sink their teeth in it right, they can really tell a phenomenal story that is personal with Karrion Kross and Bo Dallas. So what I originally thought was going actually might have some attention, might have a lot of eyes on it. So be on the lookout for that. But let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know what y'all think about CM Punk joining the OG Bloodline, going against the Rogue Bloodline. What do you think is going to happen with all this? How does CM Punk joining the Bloodline have? What impact is that going to have with Seth Rollins? Because that's key. Let me know. Give me your thoughts, predictions for War Games. Make sure that you check out the Instagram page. I will be posting my predictions on there. And as you know, Sunday will be the recap of War Games and what happens after War Games. This is the last pay-per-view. This is the last Premium Live of 2024. So after this, we're kind of Premium Live free until February. So let me know what y'all thought. Let me know your predictions for War Games. Let me know who you think attacked Jade Cargill. Let me know about everything in the comments below. Make sure that you, like I said, follow Royal Club at RCW_podcast on Instagram, as well as the Ace as well at RCW_Ace. I am the franchise, better known as the podcast Tribal Chief. I am out till next week. Take care. I'm out. Later. I know I said that twice, but whatever. I'm later.